Joining us right now with reaction is Senator Rob Portman. He is a member of the Budget Committee. And Senator, thank you for joining us this morning. It's great to see you.
Becky, thanks for having me on.
So what did you hear last night from the president? Did you hear an olive branch being reached out, something saying come and work with us, or did you hear it's my way or the highway?
Yeah, I heard both. I think so did the American people. It was an interesting speech, kind of ambivalent. On the one hand, wanting to work with Congress, being conciliatory. On the other hand, kind of giving a campaign speech. By the way, the same thing in terms of the State of the Union, at one point saying everything's great and then saying, actually, we've got some big problems. So I think people might have been a bit confused. Bottom line is we do have lots of things we can work with the president on. He knows that. He now says he's eager to do it. He hasn't shown that in the last 5 years, but it's time to get to work.
One of the things that he certainly tried to stay away from any rhetoric, I think, was on the issue of immigration. That sounds like there is an issue where both sides might be able to come together. Would you agree with that? Yeah,
I thought that was more the conciliatory part of the speech, where he said very little about it, and to the extent he said it, I think he was trying to tell the House particularly that it's in his interest to get something done, and he hopes he can work with them. But Becky, I do think he talked about four things that were explicit that we can work on, and one is one I've talked a lot about on this show in the past, and that is the need to reform our corporate tax code. And he put out a little bit of an olive branch there saying, look, our rate's too high, we're losing jobs and so on overseas. But then he said that he wants to use some of the savings, he called them, from getting rid of the loopholes for more government spending. And that would be inconsistent, of course, with what he said for the last couple of years, which is that he wants to use the reductions in the loopholes and the preferences to actually lower the rates to make us competitive. So I was both happy that he talked about corporate tax reform, but also concerned that he now seems to be backtracking on his policy of making it revenue neutral.
Senator, we knew some of those issues to begin with. He had hinted at that last year, where he had said he wanted to do some additional spending on infrastructure, thought that maybe this was a place where you could reach bipartisan agreement, where you change the tax code, you use some of the immediate savings to spend on infrastructure. If it's a short-term payout where you use those savings, is that something where you think you could reach agreement?
You know, Becky, we need every cent to get the rates down, as you know, and in February of 2012, so we're talking 2 years ago, he laid out a white paper from the Treasury Department saying, let's use the reduction in the preferences to actually get rates down, because if we don't do that, we're not going to have a competitive code. And as you know, it's not just about the rates, it's about our international system. And so, look, there's some good news out there. There's also some bad news, and the bad news is that a bunch of American companies are looking to domicile overseas, and a lot of American companies are spending their money overseas rather than bringing it back here to invest because of our corporate tax code. So we're losing jobs as a result. Second, he did talk about energy, which I liked, and he talked about all the above energy, which I think is an opportunity for us to work with them. I've never heard him so positive about natural gas, as he should be, because I think it has kept the economy afloat over the last few years, specifically fracking and horizontal drilling. And then he talked about skills training, which is an area where I think there's a lot of possibility here, specifically on unemployment insurance extension, but more generally on reforming the way we train our workers and the skills gap that has to be addressed. And then, you know, look, he talked about some other things that it's possible for us to work on together, but we'll see. I mean, he's talked before. Words are one thing, action is another.
Yeah, Senator, that's my point, was that it's good that he's saying jobs a lot, talking about jobs a lot,
yeah.
And that's good. And I just hope we're at a point now where we know where jobs come from. They're small businesses and entrepreneurs and medium-sized businesses and large-sized businesses. What they all have in common is it ends with businesses, and it's actually the private sector. So he can wave a wand all he wants and say, I'm going to do these things, but anything short of making it easier for businesses to hire is just more hollow rhetoric. And I wonder if you think he actually understands now this is a private sector issue. I need to, so, you know, more line item pen regulations that he's talking, more things that he's going to do on his own that are actually anti-business aren't going to help. Do you think he gets it now, that it's all about helping businesses hire people, not him hiring people?
No.
He doesn't get it yet.
And significantly, I think a lot of his members of administration, you know, haven't been in the rough and tumble of business and don't get it. But look, he did say some of the right things, Joe, and I mentioned, you know, what he said with regard to international trade in my response last night, too. I mean, that's another one where he actually talked about something that will help those small businesses, mid-size, and the Boeings of the world to be able to let him negotiate knocking down barriers to trade. That's the sort of stuff people are looking for. America is on the sidelines. We haven't had this ability for 7 years. It's the first time I've heard him say that, Joe, so explicitly. He needs to say that. He needs to talk about it in order to get Democrats to the table to actually get something done on
nothing
trade.
about Keystone or anything. Yeah, but I just
Keystone
love that.
would be great. It would fit everything he's talking about.
Still. Yeah, I'm not going to stand still. I'm going to do. But you can't hire people. You can't, you can do it with the government minimum wage, but it's the businesses that have to hire people. So help, he sort of can be a conduit, right?
Yeah, of course. And look, a lot of things that he talked about last night are things that he has talked about before. So ultimately, this is about whether the talk last night is going to be translated into action. And we're ready. We're eager. We'd like to work with him on some of this stuff. We don't think the economy is in good shape. The president, talked a lot about how things are getting much better, but he neglected to talk about the fact that incomes are actually down. At one point he said, incomes haven't increased. Well, they're down $4,000 in his administration. He also took a lot of credit for the deficit going down. He's the president who will add more to the debt than every single president in history combined. So we do need to continue to address that as well. So look, it was kind of a mixed speech, I thought, in terms of the message, and a little bit of an olive branch, a little bit of a campaign speech. But let's try to work together and get some of this stuff done.
We're going to say it at the same time, because we're going to share our question.
Senator, we have a question for you.
Yeah, 2016.
Who?
Who can get elected in Ohio? Who can win as a Republican in Ohio? Since it used to be a pretty consistent state you could count on. Not anymore. I mean, what kind of Republican needs to run there to win it?
Well, look, Joe, George Bush did win it twice. Barack Obama won it twice, last time pretty handily. So we're a true swing state.
You running?
Look, I'm focused on what I'm doing now.
You might.
And 2014, which is a great opportunity to get a majority
you got a lot
in the
of
Senate
experience
this year. Let me tell you what I think could change the dynamic in this town and actually get the president to the table and do the kinds of things that Bill Clinton did in his second term, which was welfare reform, you recall, and balanced budget. That would be getting a majority in the United States Senate for the Republicans. I think it would change everything because it would tell the president clearly, one, Obamacare is not working, we got to deal with that. But second, that we got to work together to solve these problems. So that's my focus right now, is to go around the country, elect some more Republicans to the Senate, and actually figure out a way to get this country moving forward.
Do you think I was right about Cincinnati when I said the west side is like Duck Dynasty and the east side is like Downton Abbey? Downton Abbey versus Duck Dynasty.
You will love this.
I know
Once a year, I get to serve lunch to my Republican colleagues in the Senate, and tomorrow I'm serving Skyline chili washed down with Grater's ice cream.
Wow.
I had some Skyline yesterday, frozen. Did you?
The sea salt, salt caramel.
If it plays in Peoria, if it plays in Cincinnati. All right. Yeah.